Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. My name is Christy Maxfield. I am Director of Entrepreneur Development Services at the Center for Emerging Technologies.
And I am Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore, Director of Bioscience and Entrepreneurial Inclusion with BioSTL.
Awesome.
Hey. We're back at it again.
We're really proud of knowing who we are today.
Yes.
Excellent. So we thank you all for tuning in, joining us for the first time or back for more. We appreciate you making time during your workout, your commute, or whenever you're able to carve out a little bit of time to think about your opportunities and business goals in new ways. We want to peel away any limitations you might have about how you think about small business, working for yourself, chasing your dream, or being entrepreneurial right where you are. You can stay connected with us and the rest of the entrepreneurially thinking community on all of your favorite streaming platforms. Look for us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or on our website at entrepreneuriallythinking.com. Follow the hashtag EthinkSTL.
Hey, I got a did you know for you.
All right. Did I know what?
Most of us don't realize that every branch, which I didn't realize this, of the U.S. military is represented in St. Louis.
Every single one, including the Coast Guard.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
Where are they at, on the river?
Well, you know, they have offices and they got rivers.
Okay.
I'm just saying, they're all here.
They're all here. Or that the Veterans Business Resource Center is based here and serves the region that includes Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois.
Darcella is a busy woman.
She is extremely busy. For active service members, veterans, and military families, resources like the VBRC are important to their success while enlisted and when they transition back to civilian life. Needless to say, keeping talented military professionals in our region, especially as business owners, is a great thing for St. Louis.
Absolutely.
Yes. So to learn more about what VBRC does and the people it serves, we've invited someone here that I think is just absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, of course.
Executive Director and President-in-Chief Fear Conqueror, Darcella Craven, and Donovan Foster, who is the CIO and Principal Consultant at Brinex, to talk about the agency's programs and services and what that means to the men and women who participate in programs like Boots to Business.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, well, we'll be right back to talk to these guests, so stay listening.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
What do the most successful people do every day before 8 a.m.? Well, rise and shine. Love it or hate it, utilizing the morning hours before work may be the key to a successful and healthy lifestyle. That's right. Early rising is a common trait found in many CEOs, government officials, and other influential people. Margaret Thatcher was up every day at 5 a.m. And Robert Iger, the CEO of Disney since 2000, wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every morning. Here are 5 other things you must do. Number 1, exercise every morning, at least 30 minutes a day. Number 2, map out your day. Set your goals and priorities for the day. Number 3, eat a healthy breakfast and all meals when possible. Number 4, visualize the day. Meditation, prayer, or quiet time. And number 5, make your day top heavy. Put most of your workload at the beginning of your day when you're the freshest. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
I'm Donovan Foster, CIO and Principal Consultant at Brinex. What does entrepreneurial thinking mean to me? It may sound cliche, but find a need that meets with your passion and fill it.
So Darcella and Donovan, thank you so much for making time to be with us today. While this is airing a little after Small Business Week, This is a very busy week for Darcella in particular, and a lot of people in our region, because Small Business Week lots going on.
It's huge.
Great things to do. And so thank you for carving out time to be with us today.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us. We appreciate that.
Oh, our pleasure. So we just kind of outlined the depth, well, actually the breadth. Yeah, we're going to go to you for some depth on what VBRC is and does. And so I just think you're, hidden from most people, that most people don't realize how many active military, how many veterans we have in our area, and the kind of work that you're doing. So tell us more about you, because I know you're also a veteran.
Absolutely.
And
your
the work that
title.
you do.
I love this.
Yeah, and Chief
Fear
Conqueror.
Yes.
So the first thing I want to do is say kudos to both of you for getting VBRC correct. We've had people who've known our organization for 13 years and still can't do that. So you're awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
It's all a success from here.
There you go.
Yeah, we're good.
Turn the lights off. We're done.
So you're right. So the Veterans Business Resource Center is actually celebrating our 13th year this year. I know.
Just in a couple weeks.
Actually in a couple of weeks in
Wow.
June on Flag Day. Bringing Flag Day
awesome.
back.
Yes.
And we actually started right over in Lindell a long time ago before it was kind of all the fancy stuff happening now, and we were over there. But I will tell you, so I started with the Veterans Business Resource Center 11 years ago. Coming
you've
from
been there.
over, I've been there for.
You've really helped shape what it is.
Yeah.
It has been fun. So I wanted to get to your point about being a hidden secret. We are, except for the over 250 people who come to see us every year.
And they find you.
Right.
And not so hidden.
However, but that's very planned. So we specifically go after a small group of people. We are expanding this year to bring in military spouses and military families.
Oh, we're definitely going to want to talk more about that.
Yeah.
So let me just real quick, the VBRC has been around, like I said, for 13 years. We started off just kind of answering questions about small business. I want to be a lawn care person, or, I want to open a franchise. And then in 2008, we took a contract with the Small Business Administration. We went from just serving the St. Louis metropolitan area, maybe over by Scott Air Force Base, to having Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, and Southern Illinois.
So that's what success breeds. More opportunity.
We can have a long conversation about scaling overnight.
Okay.
So literally on the 19th, I had St. Louis, and then the 20th, I had 4 states.
Welcome.
We provide small business consulting services to those men and women who either have a business, perhaps they were National Guard and they had a business, got deployed, and they need to either shut it down or make sure that it's still working for when they come back. We can help them expand. So perhaps you're buying a family business, or perhaps you're buying another business when you come back off of deployment or transition out of the military. Maybe you and your husband or you and your wife were in business together, or other family member. And now, from whatever reason, you are gone, the military person's gone, and that family member has to now take over the business. So we'll work with that group as well.
Okay.
And then we also work with our lovely pillow entrepreneurs. So those are the ones that fell asleep on an infomercial that said, you can be a millionaire tomorrow. And they woke up and they're like, yes, I had dreams about millionaires. And
I love this pillow
The
entrepreneurs.
pillow. Because at first I was thinking it goes back to the whole tradition versus transition. Work.
She meant what she said. She meant pillow entrepreneur.
I was thinking, I'm like, am I hearing this right? Pillow.
Right,
I love that term.
That's what I call them. I love them. They wake up, they are super excited. They are going to be the next millionaire, or they read a book that said, I became a millionaire overnight. They all believe that it's done by themselves, or the person did it all alone.
Yep.
So they come in there and they've got this fired up idea, and we pretty much make sure that their idea really does have legs, or if it's a cool hobby.
Yep.
And it should stay a cool
Is somebody
hobby.
going to buy what you're selling?
Right. Do you just need to make a couple $100 a year, buy some good Christmas presents?
Right.
Or should you really...
Is this something that's scalable
Does it
that
have
can
something?
really be... Yeah, that's cool.
The other part of that is many times we talk our men and women out of going into small business.
Well, it's not for everybody.
It is not. I call those my Christmas entrepreneurs because, they
I love this.
They were working at a job. They didn't get enough vacation during a holiday. And so they're going to come in, they're fired up. I'm going to work on my own because I'll have much more time with my family. And you're like,
Really?
No, you really
No,
won't.
you won't.
Yeah.
Please.
So we work with that whole entire scale
Awesome.
in 4.5 states.
Okay.
My God.
We're going to let Darcella take a little cat nap so that she can have enough energy to get through the rest. No. But Donovan, you are a veteran.
I am.
You are on the board and past president of the board of VBRC and now secretary, an entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about you.
I am. So I am a U.S. veteran. I served 14 years between the Army and the National Guard. I served basically 8 years of active duty service all over Central and South America, and unfortunately was deployed to Iraq in 2003.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
I was going to say thank you so much for your for both of you guys, Darcella, because you're a veteran too.
Army.
Yes.
I didn't know there was another branch.
starting already.
Here we go.
Yes, I am an entrepreneur. I came into this by accident. I was, as a kid growing up, I always did this stuff, mowing the lawns and all that other stuff, but there was never really any big dream to make $1 million overnight. I literally started the business because out of a need back in the late 90s when we had these things called bookstores.
Oh, yeah.
They were
I
amazing
miss
things.
them.
Yeah. So I was constantly in there reading on how to do, I was learning to be a software developer at the time, and that's where you went to go do that stuff because there was no internet. And so every time I was in there was always some executive walking by the aisle and would see me reading this technology book that they had no idea what it was, and they would just go, "Do you know how to do that?" And I would just go, "Yeah."
Sort of. Yeah.
Wow, you had like a built-in marketing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it literally became, we joked about it in the beginning, but I literally started, for about 2 years, I hung out at Barnes & Noble.
As a business development strategy.
As a business development, I got more work from doing that. I kid you not.
Wow.
And you started in Kansas City?
We started in Kansas City, yes, because I was going to school up there at the time.
Oh, cool.
And then whenever they would say, do you know how to do this? And I'd go, yeah, and we'd talk about what we were doing. I would literally pull other students that where I was at school that were learning and we would build teams that would do everything from database to software to web development and everything like that, just whatever they needed. And we were all working after hours, so evenings and weekends. You think it's hard running a business during the day. Try to have to deal with grandmas and babies and everything else.
Yeah.
Having conference calls at 9:30 at night and stuff like that. But that's how I got into it. And then I caught the bug, and I just said, hey, look, this is something I can make work and make happen.
So what was the sequence, just so I have it clear, in terms of your military service and your business? Were you doing those simultaneously?
I was. So I joined the military in December of 1990 while I was still in high school.
Wow.
And then I did 3 to 4 years of active duty, what they're called joint task forces, where we would go do humanitarian efforts in Central America. So Costa Rica, Panama, Guatemala, quite a few places. I did some border guard in California for a little while. And then whenever I woke up and said I want to stop playing and decided to go to college, that's when all that started happening in sequence. So that was around 97 is when we actually had the official start of Brinex.
Very cool. Awesome.
So you know what we learned from that whole thing?
Yes, what did we learn?
That Donovan's old enough to have been here before there was an internet.
Well,
Yes.
and you know what? We're really glad about that because, in fact, the entire room is old enough to have been here.
Hey, we're not talking about that.
I'm just saying.
I didn't even comment.
I'm not saying how old you are, Darcella, but I'm just making a guess here and willing to go out on that limb.
I'm just saying. So the interesting part about Donovan is that he actually came into the center to get some assistance at the time from the consultant that was there prior to me.
I was going to ask, how did that connection happen?
So here's what happened. So we started in Kansas City. Things were doing really great from 97 to 2000. My ex, who is now my ex-wife, unfortunately, at the time, her family was here in St. Louis, and things were booming as far as entrepreneurial-wise and startups. And so we, especially for tech companies at that time, around 2000, if you remember, even though there was a dive for a bit, but here in St. Louis, things were really booming as far as tech companies. And so made a decision to move back here, which we did. I started an office here, and from 2000 to 2002, when I got deployed, we were doing very well. I had both offices going very well. And as Darcella alluded to earlier, I was deployed 18 months. While I was gone, I actually developed a product for the government that's now being used around the world.
Very cool.
So when I got...
So, you were writing software, or what were you doing?
I was. That wasn't my job in the military. I was actually in Iraq carrying a rifle like everybody else, and then I gave a briefing to a 2-star general, General Michael Diamond, and he went, "What do you do in the real world?" And I told him, and he said, "Do we have a challenge that needs to be met?" And essentially what the challenge was back then, this was even 2002, 2003.
I was going to say, can you tell us without killing us?
Yeah. No, this is... it's one of my most proudest moments, so I have no problem talking about it. The challenge was everything was a paper trail, literally. So you soldiers were given their orders, you put them in your pocket, and you went, and then everybody was being tracked on paper in Excel spreadsheets. Unfortunately, that's not efficient and as great as it may sound. So they were losing track of entire military units. They were not able to resupply.
Wow.
Paper were being lost.
I was going to say, that's very dangerous.
It was very dangerous, and it was costing lives. And so as soon as he found out what I did, he said, I need you to solve this problem. Can you do it? And I said, we can. And so what I did is I pulled together a team and equipment, and I mean, literally, and they got us hooked up into the secure network, and I, for lack of a better term, hacked a few systems, to solve what we had to get solved back then. Security wasn't as big of a deal as it is today. It was a big deal, but it wasn't as big of a deal. So I was able
and
to
you
get
had
stuff.
authorization.
Had authorization, right? And, well, sort of had authorization. That's part of the story. And then once we got it done,
nobody wound up in jail.
Nobody wound up in jail.
See how this digresses whenever you talk to a military person.
I love it. I love it, though.
Adapt.
This is how stuff gets done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, we're taught to adapt and overcome, so that's what we did. So, I mean, we literally acquisitioned equipment and people and stuff. We worked, I'm not kidding you, we worked 20 to 28-hour days.
Wow.
My guys would go to sleep for 6 to 8 hours, get up and do it again.
So this is not a Christmas entrepreneur.
No.
This is someone who is working in the business.
Right.
Even when deployed.
Exactly.
Yeah, and again, that's not what I was deployed for, but that's what he told me when I said, this is how I best can serve. Once we got it, after 90 days, we literally built what would today or even back then take somewhere between, we figured 18 months to 2 years to build software. We did it in 90 days.
Wow.
And so how are you still, okay, I don't know if you can talk about it. Now I'm intrigued.
Sure.
How the hell do you track people without paper? I mean, you putting trackers in their head or something?
No.
come on now.
We literally took the first step. Today it's done with RFI. They put little beepers on equipment and they can track all that stuff.
Okay.
But back then, that was a new technology. We didn't have it. It was literally just being able to quantify and validate where people were, where equipment was, how much equipment a unit had, and all this other stuff. They were doing that very well back here in the United States, but when you deployed to a theater, it all became paper. They just didn't have it. So we quickly put it together. We got computers, again, acquisition, got computers stationed all over Iraq and Kuwait where we were at that time, and we were able to then accurately track and get people home.
So you were doing this while you were still deployed.
Correct.
And then working on your business while still deployed.
I wasn't so much working my business, but my business was being worked while I was there, because there's nothing I could do from over there.
Yeah.
But we actually deployed.
That's a unique situation.
It is.
Yeah.
Maybe not as unique as we think.
Well, so his was unique back then. It was actually still happening, but they didn't have a place to come.
Okay.
Because we didn't come around till 2004. So.
Okay.
Yeah, which is when I got home. And then, of course, when I got home, my business, like other military businesses, had taken a major dive in Kansas City and St. Louis. I mean, pretty much by the time I got back, I was gone 18 months. During that time, technology changed drastically.
I was going to say, that was a tech bubble.
It was.
That was bursting.
So I came home to, I think we had 23 clients when I left to 2.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we had to literally sit down and re-strategize what we were going to do. What is next? Literally.
So is that how you got connected with?
Yes, because we literally typed into Google at that time, which was fairly new, and
Google existed.
A military person needs help with this, and it brought us to the VBRC, and they were very helpful in helping us find, not only get our business plan in order, helping us define our strategy, helping us get connected to resources for funding that we needed to relaunch at that time, and of course getting out into the community to basically, within the network that the VBRC has, which is very extensive, to help basically open doors and open conversations.
And then what happened was, like happens to everyone who comes in there, is that he gets a little tap on the shoulder that says, "So what else? Come to lunch with me."
That's pretty much what happened. There's a tradition how you become a board chair now.
Right.
Yes.
Don't go to lunch with
Darcella. Don't go to lunch with Darcella.
Oh
awesome.
my gosh.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk more about that transition, your journey, and what you all are doing with other veterans and military personnel.
Yeah.
We all have stress in our lives, and not all stress is bad. But when we live with high levels of stress called toxic stress, we're not achieving our greatest potential. Do you know when stress is too much? Do you know when it's unhealthy? Do you know when you could use some support to manage stress and overcome the difficult things that may happen to you? We'll take 5 to find out how you respond to stress. Take the time to care for yourself and thrive, because when you feel better, you'll do better. You'll see. Visit AliveAndWellSTL.com to learn more.
Darcella Craven at Veterans Business Resource Center, Chief Fear Conqueror. What does entrepreneurial thinking mean to me? It's about thinking differently. It's about being afraid and being okay with being afraid. It's about failing fast and as often as you can so you can get to the win. And it's about opening up and asking for help.
So, Donovan, clearly connecting with VBRC was a really important milestone as well.
Yes.
But I imagine that while you were gone, not only did technology change, but you had to leave the company in the hands of others, which is always really hard for an entrepreneur, especially an entrepreneur who's working in their business.
Right.
So was the change from 20 some odd clients to 2 just about technology, or were there other challenges that your company met?
No, I mean, the change wasn't due to technology. It was mainly due to, I was the entrepreneur leading the charge, right? I'm the one with the passion, the drive, not so much the sales. My partner in Kansas City was a great technologist. He wasn't a business leader.
Okay. That's good, knowing the strengths of your partner.
Correct.
And knowing how to leverage that, right?
And the clients that I had here in St. Louis that I built up, I had a partner here, but he was more of keeping the lights on type of guy.
Yep.
And so that's kind of why. So sales and marketing, all that pretty much just went to a crawl. Correct. I mean, there was nobody that was trying to constantly looking at the business plan and going, what are we doing next? What were we going? And that's what led us to, literally walking in there going, I lost everything.
Right.
And since I've been, with the organization, I mean, that's a common story now.
Is that what we see? Is that, we always tell entrepreneurs, find that partner or put together that team that complements your skill set. We don't necessarily think of removing the entrepreneur prematurely. So entrepreneurs sometimes take themselves out of the equation. Sometimes there's other changes where they say, you know what, I'm really good at starting stuff, but not building from here. Right. So they initiate a change. But being plucked out of your company for 18 months by serendipity versus plan is very different.
You have to go.
Because Uncle Sam has something else for you to do.
Yeah, I mean, wonderful, great, service to your country, but at the same time, not what you were planning for as a business owner.
So the answer to that question is that's the reason why our organization exists. So our organization came about because of something called Public Law 106-50, which was the original Veterans Entrepreneurship Act back in 1999.
Okay.
For that reason, because when people were deploying, suddenly National Guard and reservists were being deployed to war zones. And if you remember, National Guard and reservists kind of went around town when there's floods, like what's going on in the country or tornadoes. They didn't necessarily go to war.
Right.
And so what was happening is all those men and women who had small businesses most of the year, all of a sudden were now being plucked and put into dangerous situations. And unfortunately, when they came back, sometimes they did not come completely back, whether that was physically or mentally or emotionally. So many of them could not start their business back up again, or quite frankly, they just weren't ready.
Right.
And the family member that was maybe hustling to keep it going wasn't prepared to deal with all that stuff that came back with them. Or they just came back and just said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go do something else.
Sure.
So we did see that. So that's actually one of the reasons why this organization exists. We were the first in the country to get up and running back in 2004. There are now 20 centers very similar to us across the country, Guam and Puerto Rico. And we do some work overseas as well with those centers. But that's kind of why we're here, is because we did see an influx in veterans entrepreneurship and military transitioning out and maybe not being able to get traditional employment.
And I was going to say, that's a huge negative impact on family, because if there's a business that's in place that is thriving and then that business owner gets taken out of that equation, you can really tank the finances of a family. Because, like you said, if no one is there that is the visionary or the strategist or the real lead in that business, now you've taken that family from, an entity in the community that's hiring and thriving to someone that needs to find a job or find employment, or like you said, or the business flails. So, Darcella, you got involved. You were a veteran before. What attracted you to doing this type of work?
So I'm an Army veteran. I got out of the military. I did 8 years. I got out of the military and was still just kind of wandering around, still not really knowing what to do. I went into, very similar to Donovan, I went in right after high school. So I was 17. Well, I didn't go in. My mom put me in the Army. That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother conversation. My mom signed me up into the Army. So I went in and kind of wandered around there. I didn't really participate in the military. I did well. I got a lot of accolades. I got a lot of promotions, but it was a very negative motivation. So it was mostly because you said I couldn't, so watch this.
Right.
So I didn't really pay attention in my military career. You think I can't get that? Watch this. Now I'm done.
Move on to the next thing.
And so When I got out, I actually got out with no extra education. I didn't do any of that stuff when I was in the military. And when I got out of the military, I also had 2 children.
Okay.
I just kind of wandered
Life had
around.
changed.
Yeah. I wandered around for a while, met some very amazing people who helped me get back on track, finished my master's degree. One of those amazing people led me into the nonprofit space as an executive director of another organization. Okay. I did that for a couple of years. It was social services, was way too much emotional. So I got out. And what I did was I started my own business back in 2003 to help those nonprofits implement all of the grants that they received, because they were amazing heart people with very little business sense.
Right.
Wow.
So I helped them do that. That's how I ended up at Grace Hill Women's Business Center, helping women start small
Our
businesses.
friends there doing good work.
And an opportunity came over to help veterans. So I
She really
took the job.
opportunity met preparedness, or preparedness met opportunity.
That's what I was gonna say,
Absolutely.
yes.
So I came over, I interviewed with the founder. We really actually didn't talk about the business. We just talked about our military careers, which is what happens when you get 2 military people in the room. They start, well, I tell you, one day I did this and walked up backwards up the hill. So you got that going on.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the other guy in the room was an Air Force guy. So we really pretty much just kind of flopped around for 2 hours about nothing, and they hired me.
Okay.
So I don't know if that says anything to the veteran. So, that's how I started in the space.
Wow.
Cool.
So how was the organization from when you started to where it is now under your leadership? How has it grown? What have you done?
Completely different.
It is completely different. And I'll tell you why. Because originally it was just, you walked in, you said, I want to start a business. And we went, okay, here's a business plan. Let's go. We did classes. We did kind of that traditional space. Back then, you couldn't throw a stick and find another entrepreneurship class.
Right.
Today,
Ecosystem didn't exist.
it did not.
Right.
And today you throw a stick and you're going to smack about 6 people before the stick lands. So we do one-on-one consulting. We do more action planning. Like, where should you be getting to?
Pathways.
What's happening? Absolutely. And come back and reorient us. We're like in the military, whenever you jump from a new duty station, you always get assigned a sponsor. So if some sergeant comes up and says, I'm going to take you everywhere on the post. Here's
Get
the
you
sick place.
acclimated
Here you
and
go.
show you the
so
lay of
that's
the
who we
land.
are, right?
Okay.
We acclimate you to where you want to be, what you should be doing, what resources you should be accessing now versus the ones you think you should be accessing.
It's almost like an accountability partner, right?
We are. And
That's
we do
great.
some bootstrap training. We are in 7 military posts. So we do some 10,000 level entrepreneurship training and under the Boots to Business program. Here's what entrepreneurship looks like from this level when you get down. We've got resource partners around the entire region that we can connect you to. So that's kind of what it looks like today.
Wow.
And then also the board looks completely different as well.
I was going to say, Donovan, from your perspective, because you were there early on, and you
As a
chimed
user
in,
and
too.
as part of the governance
Yes.
team. Yeah.
What have you seen as the positive changes that's happened in the growth of this center?
All things Darcella. I hope that answers the question.
Yes.
No,
And we already know that. Darcella is fabulous.
When they tapped me in 2009 to join the board, we always kind of joked that it was a bunch of old guys, and they were looking for some new blood to come in. Darcella was had already stepped up to the executive director position, and they were looking for somebody else to come on and kind of give some energy, which I guess I have a little bit of. And it was just a great opportunity for me. I wasn't expecting to be asked to lunch and asked to be board chair within a year, which I knew nothing about nonprofits.
Well, there you go.
But
and what did you said before? Adapt and overcome.
Correct.
So we
That's exactly
once again
what we did.
applied those principles.
We sure did. And what we did was we literally took a look at, we took a business approach to it. What's the board look like? What's the organization look like? Darcella took that on. I took on the board. And we literally said, where do we want to be in, 18 months, 3 years? What do we need to do? And we needed some younger blood. We wanted our board to look more like the community in which we serve.
Right.
We had corporate sponsorships, private sponsorships. We wanted to make sure we brought that stuff in.
And we didn't want to do the I got one board either.
Right.
That was what was important.
Yeah, we had some folks that had been on our board, and really great folks, but it was we consider it a letterhead board. Yeah. We've now got amazing action board of people that come in, and we've got committees that are kicking butt and doing what they need to do and getting things done.
And see, I am a big believer that, to keep your board fresh, because I know all of us probably sit on various boards.
Yep.
I personally roll off boards after a certain amount of time because I'm like, you need to bring in new people. You need to have that fresh
and
thought.
you have to have the compelling vision. That's what I heard. You guys laid out a compelling vision, which attracts a different type of volunteer.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we are looking for volunteers, just so we can throw that plug in.
All right, please. How can we get involved?
So I just wanted to kind of roll back. What we wanted to create was, if you've ever been in a room where military people are,
Yes.
doesn't matter what branch they're in, after I get done harassing them because they didn't join the Army, because,
Right.
oh my God, why'd you go Navy? After we do that, and I say, thank you, Navy, we finally won. After we harass each other.
That's the only game my husband watches. He's not even ex-military, and he has.
Awesome. And the Army did win, I'm just saying.
They did.
Who cares that it was after 13 years? What's not the point? The win is today. So after we do that, what we wanted them to come away with is realizing that the unit was still here, just our uniforms are changed. I wanted them to have that camaraderie, which is exactly the same thing that we're doing for military spouses. We want you to know that this is your unit. We're here to help support you. If that is, you just need someone to listen to you today. Or if it is, we actually need to kind of bring the hammer down and say, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Where are you going? What's happening? One of our most successful clients will tell you that today, that it was me stopping him mid-sentence and going, I have no idea what you just said. Come back when you can explain it to me.
Right.
And we did that for weeks, and he is extremely successful, landing contracts all the time. And part of that was because you need to be able to say who you are.
Very succinctly.
And I like you, and I don't know what you're doing. So,
Right.
So that's what we want. We have a veteran CEO roundtable now that where veterans who are successful, whether that is in hiring people or X number of dollars, they get together once a month down at T-Rex, and they talk about whatever that subject is for the month.
Yeah. Peer
And
support.
Absolute peer support. But not just that.
And learning.
When one of our clients found out he had lung cancer, that group wrapped around him like you would not believe.
Right.
And he gave a quote to a class the other day that had me in tears. And I think a large part of that was because he believed that we not only care about his business, but we care about him and his family.
And that's
That speaks volumes.
Right.
And
That
it does.
speaks
I mean, that
volumes.
brotherhood continues on. I mean, when you get out of the military, and sometimes a lot of the military transitioning out, they feel like, wait a minute, I'm in this big, I'm now in the one fish in the ocean, and it's not. We still come together, build that school, build that, come together, help each other out. And that's a huge part of the VBRC.
I was going to say, for a lot of people who have deployed and are coming back, and like you said, I think you mentioned this, Darcella, some people, lose their direction. They might be emotionally scarred. There might be an opportunity here with your organization and with the board and with people like you're surrounding yourself with to really get people engaged, to get them to start thinking about starting their business. And here's a great support, not just an entrepreneurial support. It's a real support system because you all have shared experiences.
Absolutely. So one of the things I like to remind people of is only 6% of the entire American population can call themselves a veteran.
wow.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly
entire
small number.
That's a very small number.
Only 3% of the American population
Elite.
ever tries to go into the military, and only about 1.5% actually make it.
Wow.
So when you get out of the military, we need to help them understand that you're going to be talking to about
A whole bunch of us who have no clue what you've
Exactly.
just experienced.
and it's not as if people aren't patriotic and they're waving the flag and they're saying thank you. They also don't really know how to interact.
No frame of
Yes.
reference.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the other piece of that is they do say that veterans make up a large majority. So out of that 6%, around 22% of all small businesses are military affiliated. That's huge.
That is.
huge. So what that means, though, is that another 80-something% aren't.
Right.
So we have to teach them how to interact with the rest of the group, how to interact with people who don't understand your jargon, who don't understand
Everything's
Chain of
about-
command.
Right.
all that stuff.
Right.
Sometimes that's all we do is just listen. And like I said, sometimes we talk people out of doing this because they were just frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
go
the
ahead.
fact that you're supporting not just the military person, you're supporting the family and the spouse. Because I think that's really important. Sometimes spouses get left behind. They're getting physically left behind when that person deploys. But when they come back, the support is usually focused on the military person, but not on the family and the spouse that was there.
And that's changing a lot. Across the country, it's changing. It started changing back in 2008 when, there's the inclusion of the military spouse under the previous president and First
Barack
Lady.
Obama?
And yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think of the name Joining Forces. That's what I was trying to think of. Because because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. But yeah, so Michelle Obama was huge, and Dr. Joe Biden was huge on military families. And one of the first things that President Obama did was expand services to veterans. Yes. So that expanded everything. Down the line. So one of the things we want to make sure is that military spouses and immediate family members and caregivers. So there could also be your brother, your sister, your first uncle, you know. We can't really work with the seventh, cousin twice removed.
Understood.
That's an awesome impact that you have.
Yeah, and caregivers. So sometimes we know that men and women who do come back and need some assistance, their caregiver is the one who's doing it. But I also don't want to leave this on a, we're sad puppies kind of thing.
No, not at all.
There are plenty of men and women who never left the continental United States, who never left Missouri for that matter. Those men and women can use our service as well. If you put on the uniform and signed your name on the dotted line that says, I am willing to throw my life on the line so that you can continue to do X, Y, and Z, you get to come into our office.
Awesome. Our time together always goes way too fast.
Yeah.
But on that note, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me during, anywhere around the town, actually.
Well, that's true. If you just follow her on social media, you'll be able to find Darcella.
We're at
how about VBRC?
Right. So how do you find? So I do have an awesome team. We just hired some new folks.
Oh,
so
great.
We've got an amazing group. So if you go to vetbiz.com, and that's VETBIZ.com, you can find out all our service, how to sign up, how to volunteer, how to participate as a mentor or as a financial sponsor. You can always do that. If you just I don't want to give you my time, I'll just give you a check. I'm good. We are a recognized 501c3. You can do that.
Awesome.
But we're really looking for partnerships. So please, or 314-531-8387.
Wonderful. And Donovan, if we wanted to do business with your company, where would we find that?
Of course, our website is our brochure. So Brinex.com. It's Brinex. Also give us a call. Right from our website, you can schedule an appointment with me or anyone on my team, so we can come out and take a look at and see how we can fit technology into your business strategy. Phone number is 314-884-8639.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for making time for this conversation and for helping us share your stories with our listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's entrepreneurially thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #eThinkSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.